So that was the interlude. That was Pink, Secrets. Okay, you guys must wonder what kind of music I listen to. Okay, so what we want to do is now talk about cybersecurity, all about the secrets everybody holds, and really tips on how to keep information safe. So this segment is not intended to scare anyone. And as some of you have gone to some sessions by the FBI who has scared you, all of the things that you could be doing. But I want this to be an interactive exercise. We won't be filming you doing this, but what I want people to do in this next segment for the next 2 minutes or so is to play along, just so that you can get a feeling of all the secrets that you're sharing with everyone else. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is what a cyber threat is, what is cyber hygiene, and really that's what I want to concentrate on, and what to do if you are a target. Okay, so everybody stand up. This is the play along. And of course, if you can't stand up, you don't have to. Okay, so your day starts at 5:30, and it could be 6 o'clock, whatever it is. Your day starts at 5:30. You check your social media sites and wish friends a happy birthday. If that's not you, sit down. Not you. You check to see what events are going on this evening or the weekend. If that's you, stand back up. Okay, time to exercise. You grab your Fitbit, hit the treadmill, and start running. Is that you? Or are you jogging, walking? Oh, everybody's gonna sit down. That is so funny. Okay, during breakfast, you grab your iPad or tablet, catch up on the daily news, check the weather, traffic, while listening to Alexa or Hey Google. If this is you, stand back up. We're not keeping track. You log into your Pop Money account or your Venmo account, pay a friend back for yesterday's lunch. If you use Venmo, Pop Money, whatever those payments are, stand up. You schedule your Lyft to take you and your friends out this evening, or maybe you use Lyft or Uber or one of those ride-sharing platforms to go to work. Stand up if that's you. Oh, come on. Y'all use that. Okay, next, time for work. You grab your phone, head out the door, you turn on your Bluetooth so you can get updates on traffic and calls via your car's stereo. Is this you? Okay, that's all the unsafe drivers. You step into your office door, cannot remember if you locked the door or set the alarm. So you activate your lock and alarm with your phone and turn off the air conditioner. If you use an app to do any of these things, stand up. If you don't, sit back down. Okay, during the day, you check your bank and investments accounts. You use your phone to deposit a check. Then OnStar lets you know your car needs an oil change. If this is you, you use the mobile bank or investment account apps. Stand back up. And then if you use OnStar, this actually happened to me. OnStar called me to let me know that my car needed an oil change. I'm like, really? Okay. Okay, end of the workday. You order dinner, pizza to be delivered on your mobile app and turn on the air conditioning. Is this you? Oh look, I'm going all to your houses, so you cook dinner. That must mean that. All right, you pick up milk and eggs with Apple Pay or Google Wallet after you check your refrigerator app to see that you're running low. So I don't know if anybody has this, but if you're using Apple Pay or Google Wallet or one of those to buy things, stand up. Okay, at home, you log into your Peloton class, start your smart TV, then Skype with your friends to have dinner together, because of course you don't want to eat alone. Do y'all do that? You Skype. on your do you have a smart TV? If you have a TV that's pretty new in the last 2 or 3 years, you have a smart TV. Everyone stand up who has a smart TV. Okay, before you go to bed, finally your day is ending. You pay a couple bills via your laptop or some mobile app, deposit a check on your phone, buy new shoes, okay, that's me, transfer money to your college son, okay, that's me again. Finally, make sure that your Fitbit is auto-synced, answer emails, update your social media. If you do any of these things in your evening or throughout the day, stand back up. Okay, so those of you who have been playing along, each time you stood up, that's information that you were sharing with who knows who. Your smart TV has a setting. That's why I told you, everyone who has a smart TV, stand up. Your smart TV, I don't know if people realize that there's a privacy setting on that smart TV. Be sure to turn it on. Or each time you use that device, you're actually transmitting information. Okay, everyone sit down, and thank you for playing along. And that was to illustrate how much information you are voluntarily sharing throughout the day. If you stood up a lot, you're sharing a lot of information, and you want to be sure that all of the devices that you are using, your telephone, your smartphone, your laptop, your PC, whatever it is, your TV, your Fitbit, whatever Alexa, or Hey Google, all of those devices. You want to be sure that you go back to the owner's manual, and I know nobody likes to do this. Go back to the owner's manual and look for that privacy setting. You want to be sure you turn it on. So let me tell you how easy it is to hack through one of those. So I'm not that techie, although if you ask my staff, some of them think I'm techie. I'm not that techie. I'm like a low-level user. In my condo, you know how if you're in an area, you can see what devices people are on for their Wi-Fi usage? Okay, so lots of people, even their routers, they don't change that manufacturer's password. So guess what? I was able to get in to three people's Wi-Fi just by using the manufacturer's password. Totally easy to do. I'm not that techie. Go on the internet. You can figure out what those manufacturer passwords are and try it. If you don't want to use your own Wi-Fi, you want to use somebody else's Wi-Fi, well, that could be a cheap way to do it too. But that is a really easy way to protect yourself. Turn on all of those privacy settings. Okay, those of you who take your Alexa or Hey Google to work, you know that it's always listening, right? So if it's listening to your confidential conversations in your office, do you know where that information is being stored? Or who else could be listening? Someone like me who can just hack through and hear what you're saying. You want to think about how that information is being protected, or if it's being protected at all. Who is protecting it? How is the information being stored? How do they destroy that information? How is that information being used? Okay, so that's what we call the cyber threat. So you folks are all cyber threats. I'm not going to call anybody on their cell phone. Okay, so, all right, so what is a cyber threat? It's really information security deals with all the data and information in all formats. So it's hard copies, back in the old days when we used to use paper. It's hard copies. Right now it's all electronic data. intellectual property, all of those apps that you're using, all of the vendors that you're using. Lots of information is being transmitted. And cybersecurity is a subset of information security. So it protects any device that connects to the web, programs, app, data, any unauthorized access. Okay, so information security is a big umbrella. Cybersecurity is just part of it. So if you have strong information security policies and implementation, you're probably okay. Information privacy is the right to have some control over how your personal information is collected and used. So if you don't want to share freely with everybody, and I do mean everybody, be sure to do something about that. Data privacy is how the personal information is used. So, you know, that information that you're sharing with everybody, there are some bad people out there. Those bad people are also using that information. Cybersecurity is all about protecting electronic information and data from vulnerabilities. And a cyber threat is anything that threatens that protected information and data. All right, so let's go back and think about during the day. How many times was that personal information shared and potentially endangered? So think back, how many times you stood up, you sit down, stand up, sit down. And that's why we're talking about this today. We're talking about cyber threats and really cyber hygiene. So cyber hygiene is really to identify the internal and external cyber risks, protect the organizational systems, assets, and data, detect system intrusions, data breaches, and unauthorized access, respond to a potential cyber event, and recover from a cybersecurity event by restoring normal operations and services. So unfortunately, I'm not smart enough to have a really cool acronym for this. But if you think of one, let me know. All right, so here's the framework on what I'm thinking about for cyber hygiene. The threat sources, you want to identify what those threat sources are. They're criminals, it could be nation states, hacktivists, you know, the people that do the hacking. Insiders is probably your biggest threat, and third-party vendors. Why do they do this? The threat objectives is for fraud, theft, blackmail. Blackmail is kind of a big one that they like to do in conjunction with ransoms at our banks. Espionage. They want to destroy information. Really, the first tactic that these cyber criminals use is to disrupt your services. And then, lastly, to embarrass you. Because, you know, you might have to take your website down, or you have to buy a new cell phone and change your phone number, all of that stuff. What are the vulnerabilities? The people. You, your employees, your coworkers. Technology is also could be vulnerable. Any of your processes. If you are transmitting information to your customers or to your clients without using a secured environment, you are subjecting them possibly to a cyber security threat. Third-party vendors. Hopefully you're using some secured pathway to interact with them, especially when you're exchanging information about your customers, your clients. Your clients could be a vulnerable thing. They could unknowingly send you a virus. They could unknowingly send you something. And then, of course, we got the strangers, right? And that's everybody else that you don't know. The assets at risk. What is it that you're trying to protect? What is that risky part? It's really all the information that you own. all the information you have on your clients. You want to protect that information. Technology investments. You bought an app, you bought some software, you're using all this technology to help you do your work. That's an asset at risk. Your reputation. If you get hacked somehow, or somehow you are the subject of a data breach, your reputation could be at risk. And of course, financial, because it takes some money to recover from all of this. And then that's where we come to the Cybersecurity Framework. Identify, protect, monitor, respond, and recover. All right, so we'll talk about each one of the framework items. First one, identify. So you want to do a risk assessment, and I know we talk about this a lot. You want to do a risk assessment, and meaning that you want to classify whatever you think your crown jewels are. What is the most important thing to you? You want to identify those threats and vulnerabilities. You want to measure that risk. How likely is that to happen? And then if you have coworkers or employees, you want to communicate that risk to other people in your organization so that they all know that they're part of the solution. Second one, protect. Cyber hygiene. The steps to take, these are steps computer users should take to protect and maintain the systems on their devices. So you want to have, might be hard to see, that red block is a firewall. So you want to have at least one firewall. You don't want to be totally open, because that'll protect you for someone trying to get in as unauthorized access. You want to have customer authentication. You want to make sure that whoever you're dealing with over the internet is really your customer. You want to be sure that there are some access controls with your coworkers. Do you want all of your coworkers to have the same access to changing files? If you do, that's okay. Or do you want to limit some access to some people so they don't inadvertently change information, or worse, delete information? And data security. You want to have that firewall or something to protect you. Okay, so imagine you're doing this thing, you identified all your risk, you think you put up some protections. Now you want to have some tool to help you detect whether the protection tools are doing their job. So, and I realize this is expensive, so if you have your tool as part of your firewall, maybe it does this for you. An intrusion detection system. So something that will alert you if someone was trying to hack into your system. Some of the firewalls will do that for you. Or if you have a secured email system, emails that have a virus or that are, that you deem to be unlawful, not unlawful, that you don't expect, they don't come through, so you can block certain people, certain emails from coming through. That's an intrusion detection system. Network behavior. So this one is actually expensive, but this is what banks do. They have detection tools that will monitor their customers' behavior. So if they start acting odd, someone will get an alert. Security information and event management, or a log analyzer. Also expensive. But you can do it the low-tech way, which is if you get an alert that someone was trying to get through to your into your system, you can just write those down, and maybe you can see a pattern. Maybe it happens every day at like 1:15 in the morning. In that case, you want to buy something that kind of protects you on that overnight. Or it could be that maybe somebody in your organization is doing risky behavior. Maybe they're looking at websites that you don't want them to look at. And so maybe you can block that. That's all part of your intrusion detection system. And that's why writing it down or somehow logging it could give you some clues as to how it is you can protect yourself in kind of a low-tech way. Configuration management tools. Okay, I know you won't buy this because it's expensive. But if you're in a big company, some of the big companies actually have this. So what it does is it actually configures how that information gets stored and passed through from person to person. And then integrity monitoring tools, which is mostly protecting your website, if you have one, to make sure that the website always looks like yours. So no one is trying to copy your website and somehow lure people in that, think that that's you. All right, so here are some common cyber attacks that you should know and understand. So I'm just going to give you these names and not talk specifically about it. DDoS. I don't know how many of you folks have heard about this. In the IT world, they talk about this a lot. It's a distributed denial of service. So this is the most common hack that's done. The bad guys will come in and they try to flood your email or flood your website with all sorts of contacts so that you don't have access to it anymore. And if they're successful, they get paid on how long it took a company or someone to figure that out and what sort of information they could glean from that when the website was down. Because as you're trying to fix that your website that's down, they're into something else that's either getting into your software or into your email, because you're being distracted by trying to fix this this disruption of service. Corporate account takeover, it's called CATO. So this is really like identity theft for your company. This has happened here before, where someone copies your website, kind of, and tries to lure people in, lures customers in to originate a loan, provide, sensitive information. And of course you won't know about it until later. And then crypto locker attacks, just like how it sounds. They lock your computer. So, typically on TV you see, your whole system go down and it says ransom, or it says, pay me. I don't know what it says exactly. But what they want is something in Bitcoin. It usually costs about 10,000 Bitcoin to get access again. Don't pay, because that doesn't guarantee that you'll have access again. All right, next one, respond. So let's say that you had a breach of some kind. So security data breaches are now a part of our way of life. Every day we hear about some sort of security breach. So what you want to have, even in your organization, is what we call an incident response plan. What are you going to do if there was an attack on your website, on your email, on your company's platform? You want to communicate what that is, that you had a data breach. We have a state law on notification. So you got to tell your customers that you've been, the information has been breached. And then you do what we call triage. You want to triage and evaluate the cyber event. What is it that they're doing? Is it that you just can't get access to your website or emails? Is it, that you're having a ransom attack? What is it? You want to invoke your incident response plan. What is it that you're going to do? So after you're done panicking, you say all the bad words in a string, then you got to do something, right? You might want to call the police. On Oahu, there is a white-collar crimes unit. That unit might be deployed to your site. You could call the FBI, but I'm going to say that you might not be the highest on their priority. Banks, if they were to, one of their earliest responses, calling the FBI, because they do have, they're protected by the federal government in some way. So that is part of their first response, is to call the FBI. And then you want to review the effectiveness of your plan. So if your incident response plan says, call the police and nothing happens, well, you want to have another step, right? So I would say, after you call the police, or maybe even before you call the police, you want to turn off all of those accounts. You might want to physically turn off your laptop or computer or your cell phone, whatever it is, so that more information is just not transmitted. Okay, then you start the recovery phase. You want to restore and review. You want to recover your infrastructure, which is a step-by-step review plan, rebuild plan. So hopefully you've backed up your data someplace, and you might want to see if you can recover it. And maybe you want to do this once a year. We try to do this once a year where we try to go to our backup recovery site and see what information we can recover. Hopefully you can recover everything except for what happened in the past 24 hours. Depending on what your plan is, you might lose somewhere between 24 hours and 7 days worth of information. Then you want to just restore that data by using that backup data. And before you use that backup data, you want to test it to make sure that it doesn't have whatever virus or contamination has infected your original site. Because I have to tell you that what these bad guys are doing now is going to the backup sites first, planting a virus, waiting maybe up to a year, attack your website. Meanwhile, this virus has been, spreading on your backup data. And then you go get your backup data and you're in the same place, which is not a good place. So you want to make sure that your data that you have is clean. And you might want to do that through your third-party vendor. And then, of course, you reconnect service. And just so that you understand how this is going to work, this could take weeks to restore normal operations. So you could, restore operations, and you could be, kind of operating it a little bit, but fully restore will probably take a couple weeks. So just be patient. Because during that time, you want to make sure that your backed up data isn't compromised in some way, and that's why it takes so long. All right, so cyber hygiene. So think about all those things: identify, protect, recover, doing all those things. But before we get there, hopefully you've done this cyber hygiene. So you want to pick someone who would be the leader for this responsibility in any cyber incident. So that could be you, that could be somebody else. You want to make sure that you know how to contact your critical personnel within, every day 7 days a week, because a breach could happen at any time. You want to be sure to let your coworkers know. Part of your plan is what to do if you can't find your employees. Let's say it's your cell phone that got hacked. So you turn it off, but all your contacts are in there. And if you're like me, I can't remember anybody's phone number because I have them by contact, contact my son, contact other people. So I don't know what their phone numbers are anymore. I just look for their name. You want to protect those crown jewels. What is the most important thing to you? You want to protect that. How to preserve that data related to the intrusion. So that's what the police are going to ask for. What did you do with all of that data? So hopefully you can just turn over your laptop or your hard drive and go, okay, this is it. Or I don't know if you want to take pictures of that. If you start to run it again, hopefully the police will help you through that. You want to determine whether other data owners, clients, or partner companies need to be notified. So that's that notification process. And of course, you want to notify law enforcement. The backup information. So that critical backup information that hopefully is clean. You want to make sure that you have ready access to that technology or service. That off-site data backup, hopefully it is off-site. It's not just another computer that's your backup. You want to make sure that you run your intrusion detection software against your backup information, your backed up files, to make sure that that was not compromised in some way. And then maybe you have this, a device for traffic filtering or scrubbing. So it's all about trying to figure out how this hack was done or how your information was breached. And then, of course, the easiest thing is when you, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but when you get an update, when you hear that, Microsoft or Apple or whoever your vendors are has updates, you want to be sure to install those updates, as soon as you can, because really those updates will help you, will help mitigate any of those intrusions from coming in. Network monitoring. I don't know if you all do this, and maybe only bigger companies do this, but there's software that can help you do real-time monitoring to help you do this detection. It is kind of expensive. I would say that big companies do this. A lot of our banks have this intrusion detection platform that they use. If you don't have that, not to worry. Look at your computer user agreements, your workplace policies, and if you do any training. So the computer user agreements is, I don't think anybody has read this, but if you use Microsoft Suite,